When Cledus T. Judd retired from music in 2015, it was for his daughter. Now, with a comeback parody of Morgan Wallen's Up Down and the potential for fresh tour dates, he's doing it to change lives, and because his now teenage daughter Caitlin gave her blessing.
My daughter said, if you're just going to go do it to stand on that old hay truck you talked about all the time, she said, I'd rather you just hang here. But she said, if you want to go out and make people laugh like you used to do and entertain them and be an inspiration to them, she said, I'll just be waiting on you when you get back.
Now I don't understand why they's arresting me. My cellmate thinks I'm sexy.
I'm Anya Hammer, and for decades, Judd's first priority was making people laugh, and he was dang good at it. Throughout the late 90s and early to mid-2000s, parody songs like Indian In-Laws, My Cellmate Thinks I'm Sexy, 270-something, and I Love NASCAR were on every radio station in America. He toured with Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, and Brad Paisley, and he's probably the only guy in Nashville who's ever stood up to Garth Brooks.
I said, look here, Hoss, you done sold more records than the Beatles. You worry about some fat comedian from Georgia gonna mess your Grammy up. I didn't know I had that kind of pull in this business. So he laughed and giggled, and we did it anyway, and he still won the Grammy.
Most of that swagger is a thing of the past now. A very humble, no longer larger-than-life Cledus T. Judd will tell you about feeling blessed to sing with the big boys for a few years and a lasting friendship with Toby Keith. He'll also share his scars, the drug habit, his suicidal thoughts, and stories about his homeless days in Nashville. During this episode of Taste of Country Unfiltered, you'll discover Judd's story is actually one of perseverance, not redemption. Speaking to Billy Dukes, Judd remembers moving to Nashville in the early 90s and how sleeping in backs of trucks and bathing at the YMCA was the life he traded up for.
3 years after I moved here, I almost lost all these fingers from scraping ice off a windshield going down 440 to my buddy's house. Darren Norwood, the late Darren Norwood, who I was living with at the time, he gave me a room to live in. I slept in a walk-in closet on Horton Avenue, 3 or 4 miles from here. And I called my mother on Sunday night. I said, Mom, I'm done. I tried. I gave it my best shot. Come get me. I'm hungry. I ain't got nothing. This ain't working. And she said, are you sure? I said, I'm done. I'm fixing to lose my hand if you don't come get me. And in my right ear, I heard on a transistor radio, a little tiny radio, I heard Tim McGraw's Indian Outlaw. And as I heard my mother in this ear, I heard Tim in this ear, and I started singing, "They're my Indian in-laws, came to visit me in my squaw, been here for," and I said, Mom, I gotta call you back. And she said, what are you doing? I said, I got to call you back. She said, am I coming to get you? I said, I'll call you back. Hung the phone up. Me and a buddy of mine wrote Indian In-Laws, sent it out to 200 radio stations, and 200 of them played it, and my life changed.
11 studio albums, television work, and famous friends created a kind of lifestyle that also came with failed marriages, a drug habit, and periodic misery. He was lonely, at times unable to sleep alone. Eventually, Judd started doing morning radio in Tampa, and on the day he was offered long-term stability, his life changed in a way you'd never expect.
When I was in Tampa, my boss gave me an envelope about this thick on a Friday afternoon. He said, take this home and read this, you know, and I didn't even look at it that evening. I went and played golf and came back that night and opened it up, and it was a contract for 5 years for $2 million. And I screamed and yelled, and, you know, I thought, you know, I made it, you know, it's the pinnacle. Called buddies down, they flew down, we stayed out for 2 nights, you know, drinking and running, and then all of a sudden they all left. And I was in a big old house with nothing. You know, I never opened a door up in one of them houses, in that house, and went, oh, there's happiness, right there in that bedroom with no furniture in it. And all these pictures of my daughter, she was like, she was maybe 2 at the time, and I started counting on my fingers, you know, okay, maybe I'll miss first grade, or I'll miss kindergarten, but I might can. And I would lay in my bed at night, and I remember it like it was yesterday, and I would say, God, look, I've got all this money in my bank account. What if I gave it all to the church? If I just went down tomorrow and wrote a check for 6 figures of money, could you give me back that daddy-daughter dance? So about 4 o'clock that morning, I wrote on the envelope, you're worth more than what's on the inside of this, and I put it in her hope chest, and I made the commitment to leave.
So the question remains, what will Cledus T. Judd's comeback look like? It started with a one-off show at the request of his idol, Ray Stevens. Actually, it may have started when his mother died of Alzheimer's a few years ago, inspiring him to write and record the Things I Remember Before I Forget album. This time, it's going to be different.
1990, I had lost pretty much everything I had. Drugs were really bad, and for 6 hours, I drove back and forth the bridge in Jacksonville trying to figure out how to do it. Do I jump? Do I run the car off the road? I'd go to the other side, come back, go to the other side, all day, trying to figure out, get the nerve up. And that's one of those things where Jesus did take the wheel, he never let me get to that. I told God if I got another chance at it, that I would make sure that I would try to be an inspiration to whether you're 20, 50, 30, if you're a drug addict. I'm a drug addict, 14 years clean. I'm one of them people. I've had it all and been suicidal, and I've been broke and happy. I'm one of them. And when I walk out of there, I hope that they will go, well, I'll be damned. I think I can do it.
Thanks for watching another episode of Unfiltered. If you're inspired by Judd's story of perseverance, you'll likely appreciate this episode about Brantley Gilbert. Be sure to subscribe and leave a comment if you like what you see.